So I did not suffer any spine injury before my enlistment. The first service injury occurred in 2006 while I was a full-time national serviceman. So while moving stores as a storeman, both of my spinal discs in the lower back were injured. And then a few years later in 2011, the SAF Medical Board referred me to the Singapore General Hospital for a permanent disability assessment. So after this assessment, I continued with the specialist consultation. So it was not a specialist that I sought on my own accord. I was not doing any kind of doctor hopping. And before the 2015 incident, and that's actually the second service injury, the SGH specialist, after a very careful examination of my medical condition, he issued a SGH medical certificate indicating that I should be excused from in-camp training. So now, what happened was that I presented this medical certificate on the first day of the in-camp training, and the reservist doctor initially agreed with the SGH specialist, and he himself wrote excuse in camp training on his first SAF medical certificate. So this point must be emphasized, uh, because the reservist doctor, he agreed with the SGH specialist that I wasn't fit to do this in camp training. So after getting the SCF medical certificate, I submitted this to the manpower branch, and then for the next few hours I stayed at the medical center, the sick bay, while waiting for a decision from my commanding officer. But after waiting for a few hours, there was no news. So I went back to the manpower branch, and that was where the battalion second in command, B2IC, he handed me this certificate, the amended medical certificate. So instead of excuse in camp training, this certificate now states light duties, and there was no elaboration on what is the scope of the light duties. So of course I sought clarifications, and I also had to negotiate with the B2IC with regards to the things that I should not be doing. So one of the requests that I made was to ask for stay out, but the B2IC declined my request. So after one night, my back pain got significantly worse, to the point where I went back to the medical center, and that is where ambulance was activated in the morning, and the ambulance chose to send me to the National University Hospital. I'm not sure why they sent me to NUH instead of SGH, despite the SGH medical certificate. But in any case, after that, I actually did a post-injury MRI, which actually shows that among the two discs that were injured in the first service injury, one of them got worse and the other one remained the same. So this actually suggested that during the in-camp training, I actually suffered some kind of a trauma. So this actually did not improve for the next couple of months, and eventually I went for a surgery in 2015. The reservist medical officer changed the SAF medical certificate from excused in camp training to light duties. This change was apparently made after a private conversation between the medical officer and the commanding officer, who was not medically trained. I highlight that this change is abnormal, and clearly it is not based on medical grounds. According to MINDEF Medical Directive, there should be a discussion with another specialist before the change to the medical certificate was made. This discussion is very important because different specialists can have their own opinion, which may differ from each other. There is nothing wrong with having different opinions. This is just medical science. So when I say it's medical science, I clarify that the medical opinions are based on medical grounds, such as from radiological scan results or from medical experiences that they may have with other patients. Each specialist should conclude with just a single opinion. So let me give an example. Say my spine injury, which a specialist may recommend surgery, but another specialist may recommend not to go for surgery. But obviously, no specialist should be saying that he recommends surgery and not doing surgery at the same time. In my case, the reservist doctor has two contrasting medical opinions. In the first medical certificate, he wrote excuse in camp training, which clearly meant that he had the opinion that I was medically unfit for in-camp training. However, the change to light duties meant that his subsequent opinion was that I was medically fit. So the question is, what had led to this change? Is it due to pressure from the commanding officer? I do not know, because the conversation is between the two of them is private. However, I do know that there are conflicting testimonies from MINDEF and from the reservist doctor. The testimony provided by MINDEF stated that it was the medical officer's decision to change the medical certificate. However, in the testimony by the reservist doctor, and that testimony was submitted to the Singapore Medical Council, it was ultimately the commanding officer's decision. So, who is right? Clearly, we do not want this kind of shady practices in SAF, which can put our servicemen's lives into danger. And when things go wrong, officers start to point finger at each other, and the result is the MINDEF Compensation Board not making a ruling on this matter. This is clearly not right. As you may have seen from the article that I posted in my blog, there are very strong evidences presented before the Compensation Board. However, the board chose not to make a ruling, and I believe there is a very good chance that upon appeal to the courts, I will win the case. This is provided that I have sufficient funds, which unfortunately I do not have, as I have been battling MINDEF for many years, and I have almost used up my savings.